Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. It began with a polite invitation to dinner at Olivia's parents' townhouse. My parents, Charles and Linda, drove in from 2 hours away. They're simple people, quiet, practical, the kind who believe family matters should be handled with respect. Olivia's parents, Ruth and Tyler, were the opposite. Loud, confident, and convinced every conversation was a therapy session waiting to happen. The dining table looked like a magazine spread. I expected awkward small talk about the wedding, but I wasn't expecting the extra guest who arrived 15 minutes late. "Sorry, I'm late," a smooth voice called from the hallway. Olivia's face lit up before I even turned. "Maxwell, you made it." Her ex-boyfriend, the man she'd once called her creative soulmate. He hugged Ruth and Tyler, kissed Olivia on the cheek, then nodded at me as if we were old teammates. "Didn't realize it was a full family thing," he said, taking the seat beside Olivia. Ruth smiled. "Oh, you're always welcome here, Maxwell. You're practically one of us." Dinner dragged into its second hour. Every time Maxwell spoke, Olivia's laughter came too easily. He told stories about their college trips, the film sets they worked on, the festivals they attended together. Each story began with "we" and ended with another reminder that they'd once been inseparable. At one point, my father asked politely, "So, you and Olivia have known each other a long time?" Maxwell grinned. "Oh, forever. I probably know her better than anyone." Olivia smiled at him. "He does. He's seen me at my best and worst." Then she turned toward me. "You'd like him more if you stopped seeing him as my ex." I kept my tone calm. "It's not about liking him. It's about understanding boundaries." Her expression tightened. "Boundaries?" She gave a small, dismissive laugh. "You really need to stop worrying about things that aren't problems." The table went quiet for a moment. I didn't push back. I just looked at her, memorizing the way she said it. Confident, sure, untouchable. Later, I'd realized that sentence was the first crack in everything we were building. The next week, Olivia and I sat in her studio apartment surrounded by wedding notes. She was in planning mode, decisive, confident, and completely unaware of the tension still sitting between us after that dinner. "Here," she said, circling names on the wedding chart with a marker. "You'll sit with my parents, and Maxwell will be right next to me at the main table." I paused. "The main table?" "Yes," she said, like it was obvious. "He's giving a toast after my dad's speech. It's sort of a tradition in our group. He's been part of every big milestone in my life. Birthdays, premieres, everything." I leaned back, trying to keep my voice steady. "Olivia, this isn't a movie premiere. It's our wedding." She sighed. "You're overreacting again. It's not like I'm asking you to share a dance with him." Just then, my mom, Linda, stopped by to drop off some invitations. She glanced at the chart. "Sweetheart," she said kindly, "maybe Maxwell could sit at one of the friends' tables. It might be less confusing for guests." Olivia's smile stiffened. "Confusing? My friends all know him." Ruth, who had come with her, jumped in. "Linda, dear, we believe in keeping family close, even chosen family. Maxwell is family." Tyler nodded, adjusting his glasses. "Jerry, you need to understand that trust means accepting the people who matter to your partner." I looked from them to Olivia. "So, to be clear, this man who used to date you will be seated next to you at our wedding and giving a speech?" Olivia crossed her arms. "Yes, because he's important to me. And if you can't handle that, maybe you're not as evolved as I thought." Ruth gave an approving nod, like they'd rehearsed it. I said nothing, just a quiet, calm nod. "Okay, we'll see." I wasn't agreeing, I was observing. Because this wasn't about a seat at a table anymore. It was about where I stood in her life. And for the first time, I had the sinking feeling I was sitting in the wrong place. 3 days later, I came home early from a client meeting. Olivia's car wasn't in the driveway, but there was music playing inside. I stepped into the living room and froze. Maxwell was standing near the couch, unpacking camera gear like it was his own house. He looked up casually. "Oh, hey, Jerry. Olivia told me to drop this off. Thought she'd be here by now." "She didn't mention it," I said. He shrugged. "We've been editing her short film together. You know how it is. Deadlines. What I knew was that no one should be in my home without me knowing." "You used her key?" He smiled like it was funny. She gave it to me a while ago. Relax, man. I didn't answer. I opened the front door and gestured politely. Next time, let her handle her own deliveries. He hesitated, then packed up and walked out without another word. When Olivia came home that evening, I was waiting at the kitchen table. Why does Maxwell have a key to our house? She put her bag down slowly. He needed access to the studio room for our editing sessions. We live here, Olivia. You didn't think I should know someone else had a key? Her tone sharpened. You're being controlling again. It's just a key, Jerry. Stop making everything a boundary issue. I'm not controlling, I said evenly. I'm asking for respect. There's a difference. She rolled her eyes and walked off. That was the end of the conversation. For her, anyway. For me, it was a new line in the sand. A week later, we attended a small film event at a local gallery. Olivia's short film was screening, and the room was packed. When she went up to speak, she smiled at Maxwell in the front row. I couldn't have done this without my best friend and creative partner, Maxwell, she said into the mic. He's been with me through every dream and disaster. No mention of me. Not one word. I stayed until the applause faded, then quietly left. That night, I stopped asking questions. I started listening to what her actions were already saying. 2 weeks later, Olivia's mother called. We'd like to have you both for dinner on Sunday, Ruth said in that carefully polite tone people use when trouble's already brewing. Just to clear the air. My parents came along. Everyone sat at the long oak table. Tyler poured wine, trying too hard to sound casual. Relationships evolve, Jerry, he said. You can't let insecurity ruin something that could be great. Olivia looked at me. Dad's right. I'm tired of defending my friendships. Maxwell isn't the problem. You are. I'm not defending insecurity, I replied. I'm defending boundaries. Ruth leaned forward. Boundaries are walls, Jerry. Marriage is about inclusion. I could feel my mother's patience thinning beside me. She spoke softly. Inclusion is kind, but not when it confuses loyalty. That hit harder than anyone expected. Olivia's face went red. You people act like I'm betraying him. Maxwell is family. He's going to be at the wedding, at holidays, probably even helping with projects after we're married. Charles asked evenly, and that works how, exactly? Olivia took a deep breath, then delivered the line that would end everything. Her voice was steady, loud enough for everyone to hear. My ex will always be part of my life. He'll be at our wedding, at our home, in our future. If you don't like that, don't marry me. The room went silent. Ruth nodded proudly, like her daughter had just given a TED Talk. Tyler looked at me with that same smug therapist face, waiting for my emotional outburst. Instead, I stayed still, looked at Olivia, then at my parents, then back at her. Okay, I said quietly. Olivia blinked. Okay, what? I stood. Okay, I won't marry you. Mom, Dad, I said, we're leaving. We walked out calmly, leaving 4 stunned faces behind. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. That night, I realized I hadn't lost anything. I just stopped pretending I hadn't already. The drive home was silent. My father's hands stayed steady on the wheel. My mother looked out the window, calm but firm, like she'd expected this ending for a while. 10 minutes passed before my dad finally spoke. You handled that well, he said. Better than I would have. I'm done arguing, I said. You can't reason with people who think respect is negotiable. When we reached my place, my phone started lighting up. Calls from Olivia, Ruth, Tyler, and even Maxwell. Texts poured in like a flood. We need to talk. Don't make decisions out of anger. You embarrassed us. I didn't answer any of them. I called one person, Sophia, our wedding planner. Hey, it's Jerry, I said. Cancel everything. The wedding's off. There was a pause. Jerry, the invitations go out tomorrow morning. Stop them, I said, and forward all payment questions to Olivia's parents. They were covering the costs. I hung up before she could respond. By morning, the calls had turned into pleas. Olivia's messages bounced between rage and begging. You can't just walk out like that. You'll regret it. I didn't mean it that way. That afternoon, she showed up at my place. She still had a key, which would soon be a mistake to fix. She burst in, red-eyed, shaking. You're really doing this? I was at the kitchen counter, boxing up her things. Yes? You're throwing away 5 years over one argument? No, I said, closing a box. I'm ending it because you drew a line, and I chose my side. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean it. You meant every word. You just didn't expect me to believe you. She went quiet then, eyes darting between me and the half-packed boxes. I'll stay at my parents' for a while, she said softly. That's best, I replied. I'll have the locks changed tomorrow. She left without another word. That night, I turned off my phone and sat in the dark. It wasn't grief that filled the room. It was peace. For the first time in years, I could finally hear myself think. By Monday, everything was unraveling. The caterer, florist, and venue all contacted Ruth and Tyler about refund policies. Each call costs them thousands. I didn't lift a finger. I didn't need to. By the end of the week, Tyler called me, his voice tight. You can't just cancel everything without consulting us, he said. I didn't, I replied. Olivia made the decision for me when she said her ex would be part of our lives. I respected her boundary. Now I'm respecting mine. He started shouting about money, contracts, and lawsuits. I stayed calm. You're not suing me for saying no to a wedding that no longer exists. Handle your own bills, Tyler. And I hung up. Then came the spin. Ruth began telling friends that I'd had a breakdown. Olivia told people I was jealous, unstable, even emotionally controlling. But the story spread faster than they could shape it. Word got around. Vendors asked questions, mutual friends compared notes, and silence from my side spoke volumes. The truth came out. The ultimatum, the silence, the walkout. The sympathy they expected never arrived. Maxwell vanished first. He stopped showing up at their house, stopped taking Olivia's calls. The man who was family suddenly had no time for her. When I heard that, I didn't feel gloating, just confirmation. Olivia moved back with her parents. She quit her freelance work for a few months, said she needed space. Tyler blamed Ruth for enabling Olivia. Ruth blamed me for abandoning their daughter. Meanwhile, I focused on work. I threw myself into a major design pitch for a new community center. Late nights, early mornings, no distractions, no drama. She texted me once, months later. I miss what we had. I didn't reply. Some lessons don't need words. They just need silence. By then, I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. The months after the breakup were quiet in the best way. I started sleeping better, working harder, and eating real meals instead of takeout. My design firm landed the community center project. It was the biggest contract of my career, and I poured everything into it. It reminded me who I was before the constant arguments, before every decision turned into a debate about my character. When the project proposal won the city award that summer, the mayor's office invited me to a dinner for the architecture team. That's where I met Neera, a project manager from the city's planning department. She was sharp, funny, and direct, the kind of person who asked questions because she actually wanted answers, not control. We started running into each other more often. Meetings, progress reviews, site visits. I didn't think much of it at first. Then one night, after we'd stayed late finalizing a layout, she smiled and said, "You don't talk much about your personal life." I smiled back. That's because I finally have one worth keeping quiet about. We started having coffee after meetings, then dinner after work. She listened more than she talked, and when she disagreed, she didn't turn it into a performance. Everything with her felt steady, real. I didn't rush into anything. I wasn't looking for a replacement. I just wanted peace, and she fit into that without forcing it. Meanwhile, word about Olivia's situation trickled through mutual friends. Her parents had downsized to a smaller house. The canceled wedding had damaged them. Maxwell had moved on completely, working overseas with another director. For the first time, I felt no bitterness toward any of them. They'd built their world on perception. I'd rebuilt mine on a foundation. A year after that final dinner, the city held a charity gala at the newly completed community center. It was the first major event inside the building, and I was the guest architect. Neera came with me, wearing a simple black dress and her usual calm smile. As we walked in, I caught sight of the catering team setting up trays near the entrance. One of the volunteers turned, and for a split second I didn't recognize her. Then she looked up. Olivia. She froze. The confident woman who once lectured me about modern love looked smaller now, tired eyes, forced smile, a shadow of the person I used to know. Our eyes met for just a moment. She managed a faint, polite nod. I returned it. Neera didn't ask. She didn't need to. An hour later, as I was stepping away from a group of guests, Olivia approached quietly. "Hi, Jerry." "Hi, Olivia." She looked down, then back at me. "You look happy." "I am," I said simply. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she said. "For everything. I thought you'd bend like everyone else does." I nodded. "You showed me who you were. I just finally believed you." She gave a small, broken laugh. "Maxwell's engaged now. I'm figuring things out." "I hope you do," I said. There was no anger, no victory in my voice. Just finality. She nodded once, whispered, "You deserve better," and walked back. Later that night, I gave a short speech on stage. "When you build something," I said, "the first thing you check is the foundation. If it's not solid, it doesn't matter how beautiful it looks. It won't last." The room applauded. My eyes met Neera's across the crowd. She smiled, proud, grounded. That was the moment I knew I had closed every door that needed closing. The night ended where it all began, with a dinner. But this time, the table was mine. Thank you for watching.